Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Dave TV. How are you all doing? Got my big black boots on today. There you go. Picked this up at the Goodwill over the weekend. Capricorn 1. I love cheesy science fiction movies. I really do. And this is not a particularly great picture, but it's just cheesy. You know, it's Elliot Gould, James Brolin, Brenda Vaccaro, Sam Waterston, O.J. Simpson's even in this thing. Hal Holbrook, Karen Black, and Telly Savalas. What a crew. It's about, kind of faking the moon landing. It's an interesting little science fiction movie. I like bad sci-fi, and this is bad. I love collecting good and bad sci-fi. So how y'all doing, everybody? It's Dave TV for the 22nd of October, 2013. So anyhow, I'll mention this a little bit. I love Tom Gauger. I think Tom Gauger is one of the greatest radio personalities ever in Washington, period. You know, he worked at the old WMAL for many years, and he's always been a nice guy. Anyhow, about a month or two ago, he sends me an email saying, you know, Dave, I really don't like DCR TV anymore, basically because of the mailbag. There's a lot of nasty, shit in the mailbag, people sniping each other and all this other stuff. And I wrote back and I said, look, Tom, I said, I try to keep a light hand in the mailbag and not do a lot of heavy editing. And if people want to talk about nasty crap and get into flaming wars with each other, then so be it. If something is really tasteless or something, email me and I'll take it out. I do that all the time. And he got back and it really kind of railed at me like, I just don't like DCR TV anymore. And then I come back at him and I say, Tom, if you don't like the mailbag, fine. Don't go there anymore. But there's so many good things at DCR TV. And one of the things we do at DCR TV is preserve the history and the rich heritage of Washington and Baltimore radio and television. We have DCR TV Plus, which has hundreds and hundreds of pictures and video clips and jingles and audio clips of all. It's a place where we're preserving all that wonderful heritage, including his radio station. And I said something like, I said, Tom, after you die, after a lot of these old radio people die, they're going to get forgotten. That's what's going to happen. And places like DCR TV, sites like DCR TV are going to keep those memories alive. And I don't know, he might have taken that wrong. It was an email thing, and he hasn't written back since, and it was kind of like that. And I feel bad about it. I really do, because I was, whatever was said in the email between us, I didn't mean to. Sometimes you said stuff in email that it's like it comes off in a funny way, and I didn't mean to make it sound that way. But anyhow, so Tom doesn't talk to me anymore, and they had on the 5th of October, they had a nice little reunion there for the old WMAL WRQX employees at Green Tree Road Transmitter, which is the old 6:30 a.m. transmitter there up in Bethesda, on the actual grounds of the transmitter. And he was originally going to invite me to that, and then he just didn't. So, but anyhow, someone sent me a video of it here, and you can catch the video on DCR TV there. It's whoa! I always do this with everything. And there's the video. It's got some greats. There's.
And we've been talking about Hartnell Weaver and Johnny Wilcox and Tom Gauger and Bill Trumbull and all the rest. I love them all. But I got to tell you, this man set the standard for WMAL.
Frank Hardin, one of the greats.
And I respect it enough, but it would take at least an hour and a half. So.
Well, anyhow, I'm not going to show you the whole thing there, but it's on DCR TV. You can go to YouTube and check it out. It's on the mailbag. But it just, you look at Frank Hardin and you look at all those great folks that worked at Andy Ockershausen and Tom Gauger and all the great folks that worked at MAL over the years, and you think of what a great radio station that was. you know, back in the 60s and 70s and even up through the 80s, you had Chris Core and Bill Trumbull and, oh gosh, there's so many names, Bill Mayhew and whatever. And, you know, to be honest with you, in the 70s and 80s, I didn't listen to WMAL much because I was a young tyke and I preferred rock radio and Howard Stern and DC 101 and HFS and all that. And I hardly, you know, that was my parents' radio station. But now I'm my parents, you know, I'm the age that my parents were listening to WMAL at back then. And I listened to the station today, and I'm not going to get into railing against them again because I do that all the time, but I listened to Larry and Brian, and I just listened to the cheap crap they come on with in the mornings. You know, there's a Prince George's County councilwoman who wants to look into banning those electronic cigarettes, okay? Now, disagree or agree with her, that's fine. But the way they handled it, Larry and Brian, especially Larry this morning, and they literally just trounced all over this woman. They didn't have her on the air to present her position. They just trashed her. They trashed her. And Larry made some really rude comments about her. I mean, sexually rude comments and anatomically rude comments about her. And I listen to this radio station and I just say, isn't it just effing sad that this radio station, which was once this wonderful beacon of humor and dignity in the market, has turned into this just piece of garbage that just trashes people. You know, in the olden days, you know, you disagree with what some city councilman does in D.C. or Prince George's or Fairfax or whatever, and you have them on and you talk it out. You know, when you let them present their side of view and you present both points of view, and you may disagree with them and they may be a complete idiot. But the way they handled that this morning, I thought was really a low blow. They should feel ashamed of themselves. They really should. And I realize what's going on there. They're trying to scream and yell, and it's like, you know, that's the way they figure they can get ratings these days. You know, dignified, classy, intelligent talk doesn't get ratings. You have to scream and yell and act like a clown, and it just, you sit there and you go, you cringe and you go, oh my word. Oh. So the big news yesterday, I guess the biggest news story yesterday was that Karen Mathis, who spells her name C-A-R-Y-N. But I like that. I think that's a cool name of spelling Karen that way. Anyhow, Karen Mathis is leaving WAMU. She's been the general manager over there for the last 7-ish years. And I like her. I really think that what she's done, and just about everybody I talk to likes what she's done at WAMU. Now, you look at other markets. You look at New York and Philadelphia and LA and Chicago. Where is there another market that has a public radio news talker as a top station in the market? You know, you look at the Washington radio ratings, and it's either WAMU or WTOP in the top spot every week, you know? And you wonder, you know, where else is there a public radio station that gets the top spot in the market every week? Now, you realize Washington is kind of a weird market. We are a very wonky, government-oriented market and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of people in this market that are probably into news talk in the morning. But you listen, you've just got to figure, you know, here's a public radio station. You know, you look at WYPR in Baltimore. You know, it's often in the top 10, but it's usually 10th or 11th or 12th place or something. It's never in the top 5. And to have WAMU always in the top 5 and usually battling TOP for first place is quite an amazing achievement. And you got to hand it to Karen, because I think what she's done over there is pretty brilliant. You know, it's a station unlike WMAL. Now, you may say, okay, it leans to the left, and maybe it does, but they do present all points of view on there. When they have, it kind of goes back to that old school of radio where, you know, if you have a debate, you put on two sides. You know, you have a conservative and a liberal on to talk about things, and it's thought out, it's intelligent. They don't scream and yell. And it gets much higher ratings than WMAL does. And I'm not saying, as I've always said before, that WMAL should abandon its conservative approach. I'm not saying that. I don't have a problem with leaning to the right. I mean, Ron Smith on WBAL in Baltimore leaned to the right, but he did an intelligent talk show, and it was a wonderful show, and it brought WBAL great ratings. And WMAL should be able to do that too, and it's a shame that they can't find the way to do that, because I really think they'd get better ratings if they did. But Karen is leaving for Seattle. Now, why is she going there? Seattle's a smaller market than Washington. It rains a lot. It's glum. It's we went 20 days of straight drizzle and rain and clouds. I don't know. I guess, maybe they're paying her. I don't know. It's a challenge, right? Maybe she figures I've done all I could do here at WAMU, and it's time to move on. And, hey, I actually was in Seattle when I was a baby. My parents took me out there. My dad was in the Army, and he was at Fort Lewis near Tacoma. And my dad was in the Army with Tim Conway. They were there together. So I met Tim Conway as an infant, although I don't remember it. But anyhow, congratulations to Karen, and I'm sure she'll do just great out there in Seattle. A new program director there at CBS Radio's LZAL, WLZL. His name is Pete Manriquez. And Pete will be in charge of WLZL. Now, Pete's up against something because it's, again, the problem that CBS has with almost all of its stations here in Washington is signal. And, the station is 107.9 way out there in the Anne Arundel County, Annapolis area, and they're trying to serve the Washington Metro. And, as I said many times before, if LZAL was on an inside the Beltway signal, they'd probably be a consistent top 5 performer in this market. But because they're way out there with a bad signal, not a great signal. I mean, it's not a bad signal. I mean, if you're out there in if you're on a rowboat in the Chesapeake Bay, it's a great signal. But anyhow, so good luck to him. CBS, again, their problems with all their stations are signal, just about. Signal, WNEW, signal. What are you going to do about that? I guess there's not a hell of a lot. And tip of the camo cap to another great Washington radio performer there, the Lou Katz, who's just celebrating 10 years doing Morning Drive on WASH, Adult Contemporary's Clear Channel there. 10 years of Morning Drive. He's worked at WASH actually 13 years. He came over from Mix 107.3 before that, and did the afternoon show at Mix the afternoon show at WASH there for the first 2.5 years before doing Afternoon Drive. But a full 10 years under the belt for Lou, and he gets good ratings too. WASH is always a top performer in the Washington market, and his Lou show, Lou and Lou and Chili now? Is Chili there? I forget. It used to be Lou and Laurie, and now Lou and Chili, or whatever they call it. I don't know. But anyhow, Lou is always got better ratings too in the last few years than old Jack Diamond did. I think Jack Diamond, if Lou's ratings weren't great, I think that probably Clear Channel would probably have hired Jack Diamond for mornings at WASH. But Lou gets better ratings than Jack Diamond did. So poor old Jack was out of luck and had to go down to cold old Miami. So anyhow, there we go. All right, folks. What is it? We're at the 13-minute mark. So that's about it for Dave TV for today. Don't forget to help support the site. A few bucks is all we need. Whatever. And check out the Realm Network. Why don't you? I like that ad. Mark Ronick there bought a nice ad there at the top of the right-hand column there, and it has all the Realm shows. You have Buzz Burbank, and you have Kirk McEwen, and you have Mark himself doing the show, and it actually updates it automatically whenever they get new shows up there. I think that's kind of a neat ad, and I sit there and just stare at it all day and all the podcasts are right there. You just click on and they play while you can listen to Buzz Burbank doing the news headlines while you're reading DCR TV. Isn't that a wonderful idea? All right, folks. Thanks for watching Dave TV for the 22nd of October, 2013. Buck 'em, Dan.